everybody, and welcome back to the Adventures in Collecting YouTube channel. Today, I had a fun opportunity to sit down and chat with Ryan, Dan, and Dwight from the Hasbro Marvel Legends team following their recent Spider-Man 60th anniversary fan-first livestream. So we had a chance to talk about some of the things that they announced, some of the decision-making, and some of the reason behind some of the recent changes. So with that, let's cut to the video and enjoy hearing from the Marvel Legends team. Ryan, Dan, Dwight, thank you for joining us, on Adventures in Collecting again to talk Marvel Legends. You guys had an awesome fan first stream that Dave and I had to catch up on because we were on vacation, so we actually missed it live, so we had to watch the rerun. But lots of really cool stuff, and I guess to start off, it was an event about Spider-Man, and with 60 years of a body of work behind him, how are you guys going about selecting what moments to celebrate, in this special anniversary line, and can we expect more announcements for the anniversary collection, as the year goes on?
I'll take the first part of that. For when we try to do a big program for the fall, we kind of sit down and we discuss what are all some of our favorite stories. What were some of the favorites that we've had over our lives and what we enjoyed, and which ones haven't we yet addressed in toy form. And then when we take those and we kind of put them on a board and we reach out and talk to our Marvel partners, to know if there's something new coming in publishing that we're not aware of yet that might be, worth throwing some interest towards, because it's 60 years in the past, but probably got 60 years in the future too, right? So we're trying to always make sure we're, keeping our eyes on all sides of it, from not just the past, but the present and what's coming next. So we try to find some of those elements to pull together to keep a little bit of one of the previous interviews kind of said it best. It's like, I don't always know about some of these things till I see them in toy form, and then it goes back and I read the comics, the stories, to kind of educate myself about something new. And that's kind of the cool thing about comics, because there's we've all read things, we all love things, but there's might be a piece that we missed, and sometimes you can find a figure or an arc that you're like, what is that about? And it drives you back to the books, the source material, and you can find some amazing nuggets that you might not have known from the spider lore. So it's kind of a mix of all of those things put into a hopper, along with the MCU and what's out there that we can be inspired by, and try to put as much of that together as possible to come up with a cool program.
Yeah, I think it starts with our partners at Marvel and Disney. This thing for Spider-Man Beyond Amazing is going to be a big initiative for them later on this year. So in years where we have things like that, Marvel's 80th, right? We try to lean into what Marvel is doing. And then, yeah, as Dwight said, it's just kind of a big brainstorm session. We all have our favorites. Sometimes you can kind of tell who fought for what. For me, it was really important to do that Amazing Fantasy 15 version, and I love that figure so much. It's new. It's got all the pieces you could ever want, and so I was really happy that we got that in the line too. And then to that question of, are we done? We're done in terms of these were the 10 items that we typically release all at the same time with some retailer exclusives, but there are a couple of tie-ins later in the year you'll see that are also Spider-Man themed, that we also love. So look out for those shortly.
Yeah, and if you count exactly how many items are in the program, we only did 9. So normally, if you go back all the way to 2019 or 2020, there are usually 10 items within a fall program. So just so everyone knows, we only showed 9. So I apply that.
Ooh, there you go. There's a fun little breadcrumb. We've seen a lot of new things with the releases. Every time you guys announce something, there's always some kind of like fun little change, some kind of new thing that's coming. And one of the things that's really incredible about the community is there's been this amazing cottage industry that has cropped up around creating accessories like web effects and soft good wired capes, for 1/12 scale across the board, but sometimes specifically for Marvel Legends. Do you guys foresee a future where Legends might include similar items?
Well, Dwight had some laundry that he teased in our stream, but
To
to that point, I think it's honestly tough to do. Like they need to come with a figure, right? We can't just
Mhm.
sell like a bag of capes. Really, that's not. But yeah, we're always looking to grow in new areas and try new things out here and there. So those types of ideas, accessory packs are something that we've been kicking around for a long time. Just haven't quite unlocked it yet. But like the flight stands, those took me years of wearing the team down to get those into the line. So maybe we'll work that out in the future for those kind of plus up type things.
Because the one thing I have to say was, so in the newest MCU Doctor Strange, I initially was terrified that there was no peg on the back of the cape and no port in his back, and I was like, how is this thing going to stay on? And it stays on really nice, and it drapes on him really nice, and you can get him in some really great poses. But at the same time, I was also thinking like, oh, there's no hole on the back, and there's no like holes for capes or anything. So like, if for an aftermarket cape, it really fits on really nicely. Like you don't have to modify anything. So like, I like stuff like that as well, and I think that's a cool kind of in betweener. Maybe like a secret move there. Um, so again, kind of sticking on that track of new things and kind of innovation. As we know, Spider-Man is one of the more limber heroes out there, and it's always exciting to see more points of articulation. That new retro body is fantastic. Everybody loves it. But with the Renew Your Vows 2-pack, you guys have re-added toe articulation. So what was kind of the thought behind that? Why now? Why bring that back now to that already existing awesome Spider-Man body?
Dan was the thought.
No, go ahead, Dwight. Go tell them why we did it.
I just did. Dan made me. He forced me to do it. He's always smiling and he looks so nice with his hats, but he's a very scary individual. And he was sending me a lot of really scary text through the dark web, and I was afraid if I didn't give him toes, I didn't know what was going to happen to me or my action figures. I went into my office and like 8 of my action figures were missing their heads, and there was like notes everywhere. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on because Dan's not even in the state right now, so I don't know how he did it, but I was afraid. So we gave him some toes.
I just cut up all his action figure toes on his desk. They were just all missing toes.
Oh, but it's an awesome it's an awesome ad. It's such a little like tiny nuance, but it really does add a whole lot of additional posability to the figure. So we're really excited to see it come back.
I think like what our team tries to do really hard is we try very much to listen to what the fans want, right? And I think that's been one of the requests that have been out there for a while, especially for specific characters, right? Like toe articulation, I think, is not going to be something that we add to every single character. It has to be, appropriate for which characters need it. And so one of the things that was on my bucket list because I wanted toe articulation was for Spider-Man. And we also knew that was something that we could innovate more on our retro body as well. So we just wanted to at least try it out and see. There's no guarantee that everybody in the community is going to like it on even our Spider-Man. So yeah, we try very hard as a team to see what the fans in the community want to. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it.
Yeah, and we will be using it on other characters, though. We are working on another A-tier character that'll have toes as well, with that same body. So it's not a one and done. You will see it again where it makes sense.
I really hope that figure takes us to Hell's Kitchen, Dwight.
There you go.
Just throwing it out there. That would be a really great way to reuse that body. Just
agreed.
So again, continuing kind of the thread here of innovation, you guys are doing your part to contribute to Hasbro's noble effort to eliminate plastic from packaging. Save the Earth, so that way we can enjoy it longer. But members of the community have expressed concerns about with these kind of new windowless boxes, these plastic-free boxes, have concerns about potential increase in theft. People who do collect mint, who now, in order to see the figure would have to open the box, and the status of tribute line packaging. So like the beloved Toy Biz style packaging that does prominently feature that plastic bubble. were any of these concerns taken into consideration when you guys were developing the new packaging? Is there anything, any steps that you guys are taking to kind of address any of those concerns?
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. It's been a hot topic for discussion, starting at the top, right? As everyone can kind of agree, this is being done for the right environmental reasons to, increase sustainability. That being said, there's a big team at work, and we've looked at all the options and have considered things. We are aware that unfortunately theft and figure swapping is an unfortunate reality. Doesn't make it right, but it is out there. So we will continue to monitor that closely. I think in thinking of how retail is done, there's increasingly more happens on e-com these days, to be honest. Like, us as all collectors are familiar with it, and so for certain collectors it might not make that much of a difference. I am a self-admitted, I like to keep some figures mint in pack. I mean, I think that's more so just to know that I have a pristine version of the figure should I ever want it or need it in the future. It is about seeing it, the figure, but I've got bins and closets full of stuff that I actually cannot physically see right now. So I try to spin it like that a little bit. And we're just going to continue to focus on bringing out the characters from the comics and the new entertainment, as we always do, and just try to really focus our efforts on making the figures as best as they can be. And hopefully the fans understand what we're doing. And with regards just to the legacy line packaging, we are working on some kind of alternatives to that, which you'll see in the future. So it doesn't mean that we're necessarily stepping away entirely. The offerings just kind of have to adapt to the times with the new kind of reality that we're in. And as we mentioned previously in other interviews, right, 2023 in the spring is really the true start date for the completely plastic free. So the rest of 2022, this year, it's going to be a mix, because our processes are very long and certain things were already in the works. So it just so happens that those Spider-Man items that we showed last week are all in the new plastic-free packaging. So that's a good idea of what kind of single figures and 2-packs in the new reality are going to look like.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's one of those things where it's like, if we don't have an Earth to enjoy figures on and live on, what's the point? And if these little changes can make big impacts, it's ultimately what matters more. And yes, I'm currently staring at a bin of figures that are all polybagged that I can't see any of them. I only know that they're in there because the spreadsheet that I have tells me that I put them in there. So I'm right there with you. And we mentioned the retro animated series line. It's you guys recently revealed at the last event that the Lizard is coming. That line has been a huge hit. The Toy Biz packaging, the 90s animated series, it's like one of a beloved combo, and seeing the figures get kind of a modern treatment is amazing. Can we anticipate more waves or single releases in that line, kind of continuing, or is there kind of like an end in sight for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, that's Spider-Man Toy Biz retro card line. That's like my favorite line, right? And I've been very adamant about that. Like Ryan was saying, we've made sort of like a goal by 2023, to be more sustainable as a company. And so that doesn't mean that in 2022 you won't see. I can guarantee, I guess I'll just give you a nugget now, that you will see at least a couple of more items on a retro card, I will say. So you don't have to worry yet about those going away. It's like a phased approach for 2022. So stay tuned for that. But overall, I personally think it's really important, even though I love the retro, packaging and line, that we kind of go in this new direction of sustainability.
I don't think anything really ever ends for us, and that's what's great about working on a brand like Marvel, is that there is no end. There's so much to we're never going to get to it all, so we're never really done with it. And we might have to, due to different years, different priorities coming out, not be able to do everything in one fell swoop, but we can always go back. We can always go back to stuff. We're kicking off 2024 soon, which is crazy because we're only in 2022. But that's just kind of what the deal is. And it's like that Lost meme where Jack says we have to go back. Like, we can always go back. We can always go back.
Man, Lost reference. Nice. I like it.
Speaking of my heart. Love me some Lost. So Yeah, I mean that's exciting to hear, and I mean I could see a world too, like just looking in your backgrounds and looking at the the plastic the plastic free packaging, like how awesome that giant Toy Biz '90s Spider-Man logo would just look across like a big 2-pack box, like that art and the purple and the spider web would definitely translate to that. I think as long as we keep getting figures from that '90s animated universe. I mean, there's so many unique looks from that that are so iconic. I honestly think people will get over the packaging just as long as they continue to get the figures, right? At least that's the hope. Um, Before we move off of retro, the one thing that you guys didn't mention at all during the event was the retro 3 3/4 inch line. Um, can we expect more news from that line before the end of the year, or have we seen kind of what we're going to see in 2022?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. There will be more Retro 375 news to come. We like to bring our friend Stevie Evans on for those. Yeah, so we just try to space it out. It was very Spider-Man heavy the last go.
Understandably, it's a little anniversary. 60 years is no slouch, right? And then something you guys know, having had me before, I like to ask something personal from you guys before I let you go. And since we've been talking about Spider-Man the whole time, the question is going to be this time to each of you: what is your favorite Spider-Man figure of all time?
Oh,
I'll
I
go.
did
I'll go
not.
first.
Yeah.
I think for me, probably the Into the Spider-Verse Peter B. Parker in the green jacket. I think the likeness to the show was matched so perfectly. I love any Spider-Man that I could aspire to be, and if there was going to be a Spider-Man that I could maybe pull off one day, that would be it. So I think that Peter B. Parker is probably, if not the top Spider-Man, definitely in the top 3 of the Spider figures that I can think of.
I'll go next. I think it's it's a tie between the retro Spidey that we put out in 2020 on the card, just because I love that card, or Pizza Spidey. I really, when I first played with Pizza Spidey, number one, I love pizza, so like anything that has pizza accessories, dope. But number two, like yeah, that figure, I just couldn't put it down when I first had it in my hand. Like I kept playing with it in the middle of like the day of work day. Like Ryan would see me across like our cube and I'll just be playing with it. So yeah, I really love the Pizza Spidey still.
That's tougher for me because as a kid I was more of like an X-Men focus in the old Toy Biz line. So I don't think I actually even had any or many Toy Biz Spider-Man. But yeah, I mean, I think that retro card wave, the first time we did it, we got to reveal it at Toy Fair. I think it was last time we were at Toy Fair. What was that, like 2020, I think?
Yeah,
And I
2020.
had to go back and get the original Toy Biz one because I like to do that like comparison when we would reveal them at events. So yeah, I mean, it's boring, but I'll say that original retro card Spider-Man, just because it was also fun too, working with the packaging team to look at that line look and to be like, what, like, how are we gonna bring this into the modern age there with the little name and the call outs and then the back. And so just working on the whole architecture of it is a really fun experience.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps us up for this call. I don't want to keep you guys over. Thank you so much for taking the time to kind of unpack your fan first event, and as always, we look forward to the next one.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
man. Always good to see you, man. And as Spidey would say, let's go Mets, Eric. So let's go Mets, you know?
That's right.
So I appreciate it.
I did that on purpose, but I had to go with the black one because otherwise the blue one kind of messes with the background.
I
So,
got you. I got the black one right here. So it's all good.
man, I think it's my City Field inaugural
Nice.
one
Nice.
from back in the day. So, yep. All right, guys. Well, take care, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Peace
Thanks.
out.
Bye.